The highly contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus, which has prompted concern globally as it leads to new surges in various countries, is now posing a risk here in the United States, especially among individuals who have yet to be vaccinated or are just refusing to get vaccinated ever. Now, the Delta variant is the product of the coronavirus mutating. That's what happens, and that's why it's so important for people to get vaccinated, because it prevents this virus from continuing to spread and continuing to mutate. But what we know right now is that the super contagious Delta variant of the coronavirus is now responsible for about 1 in every 5 COVID-19 cases in the United States, and its prevalence has doubled in at least 2 weeks. So experts say that vaccinated people are largely protected from this, although there is some new data from Israel that has me a little concerned. But here's what Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who is the director of the CDC, has to say. COVID-19 vaccines are readily available to everyone ages 12 and up. By the way, this variant tends to infect younger individuals, so that's why the age group was mentioned in this comment. They are nearly 100% effective against severe disease and death, meaning nearly every death due to COVID-19 is particularly tragic because nearly every death, especially among adults, due to COVID-19 is at this point entirely preventable. So till now, at this point, I should say, about 65.5% of the US population has received at least 1 dose of the coronavirus vaccine, which, to be honest with you, is actually higher than I would have expected because of all the anti-vax garbage there is out there and the anti-vax disinformation that people like Tucker Carlson, who very likely got the vaccine, love to spew. But this is what we also know. In terms of like people who are fully vaccinated, the number is somewhere around 50%. So we need to get more people vaccinated in the US to prevent further mutations of the virus, but also to just squash this pandemic, right? We don't want it to mutate to a point where the vaccines are no longer effective. And if you look at Israel, they're noticing a surge in new coronavirus cases because of the Delta variant, and it's even impacting people who have been fully vaccinated. So I don't want that to discourage people from getting vaccinated. It's still really important for you to do it, but it is a warning, right? It's a warning of what's to come if the anti-vax nonsense continues.
Yeah, and it's sort of a weird self-fulfilling thing where if you say that there's no point in getting the vaccine, it won't protect us. It provides the opening for mutations, which might eventually override the protection of the vaccine.
Right.
Sort of weird how that works. And yes, so because of the variants, people are getting sick, but we should also remind people, you can get regular old classic edition COVID with the vaccine. That does happen. It does, it's a very low chance, but simply because something doesn't provide 100% protection is no reason not to use it. We don't require that in literally any other place in our life. Doors aren't 100% protection against theft. Seatbelts aren't 100% protection against dying in a car accident. We still use them. Anybody who has a gun for self-defense won't protect you in every case. You still use it for self-defense though, so everyone should definitely get it. That said, the Delta stuff is scary. Did you read today about the next thing? Delta Plus.
Oh, of course.
Which sounds like a frequent flyer miles program. It is unfortunately an even more aggressive variant of the Delta variant. I think it's A.Y or something like that. It's got some scientific nomenclature. But yeah, so that's out there too. And we have ended up with exactly what we predicted probably more than 6 months ago, which is we're still gonna have people dying, but they are going to largely be self-selecting into sickness and death. I say largely because there are still some people who won't be able to get protected from the vaccine or might be vaccinated and still get it from someone who wasn't. And so we've got this 30 to 40% of the country that there is nothing you can do to get them to take the vaccine. And because of that, they will still get sick and they will potentially endanger the rest of us.
Lee Phillips wrote an important piece in Jacobin about how the framework for the coronavirus vaccine was developed, because I think it's really important for people to know about it. There's a misconception about the vaccine just being developed out of nowhere. Like, oh, it was developed so fast, how can we trust it? No, it had been developed already, right? Like the framework for it had been developed on university campuses. It was just languishing there because there was no profit motive in bringing it to market, right? To making it available. Luckily that research had already been done. So that's why we were able to get a vaccine relatively quickly. And for people who think that it's dangerous, like at this point, more than 65% of Americans have gotten at least one shot or one dose. So if it were dangerous, wouldn't we be seeing mass deaths from the vaccine?
No, but they think that we are. They say that we are. The magnet
Where?
lady said 5,000 people on VAERS were reported dead. You know, the thing that literally anyone can go on. It's easier to edit than Wikipedia at this point. Well, they believe that is actually proof. No, but that's the thing. Like all of these, you have a mind that tries to work via logic and tries to reach a conclusion that is in some healthy relationship with reality. But other people just want to be comfortable with things that they already believe. So sure, there's 5,000 deaths. Where? I don't know, somewhere. Also, inconvenient things like Donald Trump deserves all the credit for this thing that's killing people that I would never take. Why do they believe that? Well, there's actually some nuance to that. I saw a poll, Monmouth University came out with a poll that I just read the results of today, which is 46% of Republicans either aren't sure or don't believe that he took it. They don't believe Donald Trump when he says that he took it.
Did he, by the way, has he gone public?
He said multiple times in interviews. He's done it on Sean Hannity. You haven't heard much about it because Sean Hannity doesn't have follow-ups and Fox doesn't mention it.
Right.
They find it very inconvenient. But they almost half don't believe him. They think he is lying to them about taking something that will kill them. They still like him though.
That's amazing.
Even though he's doing that lie. And by the way, about a third of Republicans, it's like 28% of Republicans, 29% of Trump supporters say, I'm not gonna get vaccinated. When you ask him, what if Donald Trump asked you to? And by the way, he already has multiple times, but we pitch it as a hypothetical. Like 6 or 7% are like, okay, maybe I changed my mind. Man. Like even the guy they love more than life itself, there's almost no chance he could convince them.
And look, I mean, there are healthcare professionals, nurses who refuse to get vaccinated. In fact, there's this big story out of a Houston area hospital. I want to give you the details on that. More than 150 staff members at a Houston area hospital were fired or resigned on Tuesday of this week for not following a policy that requires employees to be vaccinated against COVID-19. I mean, they work in a hospital. They need to get vaccinated. Yep. Houston Methodist Hospital had told employees that they had to be vaccinated by Monday. And since they hadn't been vaccinated by Monday, 150 of them either resigned or were fired. 117 Houston Methodist employees filed a lawsuit against the hospital for having this policy. But
it's insanity. It's insanity.
You need certain qualifications in order to work certain jobs. So being free of like a virus that has killed literally hundreds of thousands of Americans, I guess is a common sense requirement at a hospital, right?
But healthcare workers who presumably believe in science in some form just don't want to do it. It is like you cannot go a couple of days in America without having some sort of core either belief or hope for the nature of humanity being shattered. Like I want to get a time machine just so I can go back in time to when I was like 8 years old, and I want to find myself watching Star Trek saying, hey Papa, are we ever gonna get there? I just want to slap him in the back of the head. We're not getting nowhere. People are stupid and selfish, shut up. Go watch something else, Zoobilee Zoo or something, it's entertaining.